think being involved for us is, I think it's great because you stay so tapped into what's going on in the market, and each section really affects each other. We use the terminology a lot of hospitality, residential, corporate, but really at the end of the day, designers move in and out, projects move in and out.
Yeah.
I think it's getting harder and harder to define a segment.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Empowering Design, where we talk all things design and business with a focus on leadership. Here with me today is my good friends, Jennifer Cahill and Jennifer Davis from Maven Studio. We'll learn how they got into the design industry, what their leadership style is like, and how they are transforming the design community with pop-up shops. Well, thank you, Jennifer Davis and Jennifer Cahill, for joining me. I'm going to go by your last names, Cahill and Davis. Let's start with Davis. Tell us a little bit how you got into the design industry and, yeah.
Well, I actually started out thinking I wanted to be an architect. So I went to architecture school, and I was about halfway through when I realized I wanted to sleep and to eat like a normal person. And I didn't care as much about live loads and dead loads and cinder blocks and 2x4s as I should trying to be an architect. So I decided not to do the whole building, but to just do the inside. So I switched my major to interior design and got a degree from Georgia State. Okay. And I practiced hospitality for about 13 years before switching to the rep side.
How about you, Cahill?
I actually had a different direction into this industry, which is actually really funny. But when I was in high school in New York City, I needed a part-time job. I was a senior in high school, and I was already taking college courses at night, and I applied for 2 jobs. One was actually managing a reggae club on Canal Street during the day. And one was being the little cutesy part-time receptionist for this like cool and funky wall covering company called Innovations. And Innovations offered healthcare, and the club did not. So I picked that job. Oh, wow. And ironically, just found exactly as I was going to school at night, I started a career with Innovations and kept progressing and had really found my industry. And, my mother is an artist. I've been surrounded by architects my whole life. So it's actually a perfect fit, but I actually came at it from the other side. I came at it from the sales side.
Davis, tell us a little bit about, I guess we'll start off with you. Tell us a little bit about Maven Studio.
So Maven Studio is a very small 2 gens, boutique-minded, and 2 gens and 2 cars and 2 dogs, independent rep group that is very focused on being an extension of the design firms, the designers, the architects, and the purchasing agents that we work with. We've got a fantastic line list of reps or vendors, fantastic line of vendors. And we can pretty much be a one-stop shop for everybody, minus the floor. We don't do carpet.
How about, do you want to add anything to that, Cahill?
I think what she said is pretty on point. I think what we felt like in the market, both from her side as a designer and also my side on as being a rep, there was this natural evolution that was kind of happening in the design market. And it really, I think, spoke to us. And it wasn't something that we saw a lot of in the market yet when we created this company, where you really do sort of have a collaborative effort. Yeah. It's not purchasers versus designers versus architects versus owners versus, your design. Like, we really wanted to work more closely with designers and purchasers so that this back end of house of having to like reselect and figure it all out, like we could try to eliminate that using our expertise by being more involved with the projects and being more involved with our clients, who also inevitably turn out to be our friends. So I think that's what we were really looking for, was more of that boutique feel to dealing with us.
So what is y'all's ideal target market for your business?
Our target market is across the board. I mean, we can cross all channels with the amazing list of vendors that we have. We can do residential with, we have beautiful fabric lines and wall covering lines that we can tailor to the residential market. And then we can pretty much go across the board to the other end of the channel with hospitality, and we can cover basically every nook and cranny of a project for the designers with our vendors. Like we said earlier, just minus the flooring. I mean, we can do your lighting and your mirrors and your case goods and your wall covering and what am I forgetting?
Actually, let's go on to Cahill. You want to, or you, Davies, you can start off with explaining some of those lines that you guys have, I guess.
I mean, we joke around all the time, and this will be like my funny moment, but it's like anybody with a paycheck, anybody that can pay the bills, that would be our target market. No, we do have specialties without a doubt, and it's changed. I think COVID has changed things. If you asked us, when we started this company, what our specialty was going to be, we probably would have said mixed use and hospitality. That would have been the first thing we said, with a secondary nod to senior living and corporate. At this stage of the game, I would say, I don't know that we can pick one. I think that we were very smart in our selections, and we still are. We curate the lines that we're going to take on. We don't take on every line, not that we don't love them, but I'm not looking to have 17 lines in a presentation. And Jen's agreed, basically said, like, we don't want 17 lighting lines. You begin to eat yourself, and that's not what we wanted. We wanted lines that really worked well together, but didn't compete with each other, that had different specialties, so that if you were a designer on a project, that we looked at even the lines that we were carrying for all segments of the market and all projects. If you were going to come to us with a project, how many of those, boxes could we tick for somebody without doing flooring? Let me just be clear.
Don't do flooring.
Just an FYI.
Everything else, just not the flooring.
No, but we do have some lines. Like, I think in particular, like one of the biggest ones for us would be textiles, would be Brentano, Sacco, which is now part of the Quadrat family, which used to be represented through Maharam. So that definitely, is seen more on the corporate side. I think having those two in particular, along with like innovations in wall coverings and look walls. And we have this specialty line that we're just in love with, just the artistic aspect of it. We just adore it, called Lithos Design. And they do granite and limestone marble walls and floors. Either one and all of those lines are amazing crossover. I mean, I own a Crawford. We have a fabric line. She's specialty out of Scotland. Lark Fontaine, Houston, Texas. All of these lines can work for your couch in your house, to your senior living lobby, to your hospitality benches, or to your corporate application. They're not defined in any one market. And that was, I think, really important to us when we selected who we were going to work with.
And I think a lot of the design industry is going that way, that, and at least in the last, we'll say 5 years, where they want to bring the home aspect to your work environment, when you visit a hotel or mixed use development with multifamily or whatnot. So
I like the term resi-mercial.
Yeah. Yeah, that term.
Yeah, gotcha. We don't ever want to hear that term again, but no, I'm just kidding. If somebody can come up with a better term, like, I think that one's going to stick. But yes, that's what we were looking for as a rep group. I think that's what we felt like our clients really needed. And for us to be effective as a design arm, we also need enough to pull from to be able to help out. And these lines really complemented each other and allowed us to do that.
Yeah. I think we'll go with multifunctional. And that way we'll keep it.
Multifunctional, aka anybody that can pay the checks. Yeah.
So with that being said, what are some of the I met you all through NEWH. What are some of the other design industries that you guys, or organizations that you guys belong to?
So I've done ASID in the past. I've been affiliated through quite a few of the people that I've worked for, like most specifically Dongia in the past. That is one that we will probably in 2022 reaffirm our membership for, as well as IIDA. So I've been a member for IIDA for years. I've sat on one of the Bob Awards committees. That was super fun. I really want to do Drast when it comes back. That is like, I completely want to sit on one of those boards. I think that would be really fun to like put that event together.
Oh yeah.
But those, I mean, really at the end of the day, those are the top three. And, you know, as you know, I sit on the board for NEWH now. But again, you know, 3 kids, 2 dogs, 2 cars, 6 states, 2 chicks, 4 social media accounts. And, you know, and 13 lines. So there's only so much you can, you know, oh my God, we're married. Apparently we're married and we're somebody's kids. So, you know, you gotta sisters, brothers, you gotta tack all that in there and occasionally like throw out a friendship, you know, actually be there for a birthday party. So I think, you know, we're going to pick and choose and sort of divide and conquer next year. But I think being involved for us is, you know, I think it's great because you stay so tapped into what's going on in the market, and each section really affects each other. You know, we use the terminology a lot of hospitality, residential, corporate, but really at the end of the day, I mean, designers move in and out, projects move in and out. I think it's getting harder and harder to define a segment as our segment, just like our space here in the city, mixed use space. It's not residential, it's not retail, it's not quite corporate, it's a little bit of everything. And I feel like that's, you know, you're seeing movement even with designers and projects. You know, you have hospitality firms taking on corporate jobs, corporate firms are taking on hospitality jobs, residential is doing boutique. It's all blending. And to stay relevant with what the trends are and where we see urban planning going or development going, it's important to be a part of these groups. It gives you a big pie picture, not just one segment of the pie.
And that's how, I mean, that's what all the investors, in my opinion, have been going in the last 10 to 15 years, is how to maximize the amount of money they can do on the single square foot of real estate. So
absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. So moving on, Davis, what is the culture like? I guess we'll go back to that of Maven, and then we'll come back to you, Cahill.
So our culture is we work very hard, we play even harder, and we really have to drink as many margaritas as possible. That's our culture.
I mean, I think Jen's, as far as our culture, I think Jen's pretty much nailed it. You know, we really wanted to be freer than what we were before. In our past lives. We wanted to have a different sort of mindset when we woke up in the morning. We wanted to have a different support group. You know, when you get sick on a Monday, there's somebody to, you know, that's got your back. We couldn't be exactly alike, but we work in tandem really, really well with very different personalities, but our core values are the same. We definitely work hard and we definitely play hard. That is without a doubt. You know, there's a lot of spying going on. I'm kidding. There isn't, but whenever we can, we do. But I think that's the thing, is we try to keep our stress level in check. And we try to make sure that every day we feel that we're having fun, and our clients feel that we're having fun. And I think that's the most major thing about our culture.
So moving on to leadership, I guess we'll start with Davis. What fuels your passion for, I guess, leadership? And because starting your own business and owning your own business is a leadership role in general.
I mean, like Cahill said, I mean, we have very similar mindsets in regards to how we want to do things and tackle things and handle things, which some people have been surprised about, which I kind of laugh at when people are like, really? I'm like, yeah, actually we do. We just tackle things really differently, but that's just what makes it work. But as far as leadership goes, I mean, we both are completely on the same page on, you know, what it takes to get the job done and, you know, how we want to tackle it, and, you know, being there for our designers and our purchasing agents and our architects. But our focus is them, and our focus is making sure that they're taken care of first of all, and that Maven is always, up there at the top with making sure the company is running well, that we're both happy with, how things are handled. We talk about different situations, while we're in them.
Good. No, I think what she's saying is right. I think for how we view our company, that's about right on. And how we tend to take a lead with a vendor or how we approach things is really to partner with them. Love the term brand ambassador, has been around for a long time, but I felt like that was something that we individually were doing long before that got coined. And that we continue to do and evolve and look at and check. And part of that too, I think, is understanding how you can make a difference, I think, in your workplace, not necessarily your company, but in the overall workplace.
Yeah.
Volunteering, I think for both of us, or for it to represent Maven, it's a big part of how we do things or what we feel about things. Jennifer could probably tell you, and I could tell you, if you go back to your roots and you think about your design school, you're bereft of samples that are relevant. You're bereft of resources that you need to complete your jobs. You come into the rep side of it and you're lacking training a lot of the time. You're lacking mentorship that's really viable mentorship. And just from our personal experiences, we know how daunting it is to come out of school. We know how daunting it is to try to switch your job with only 2 years experience, how hard it is to get scholarships, how, just a multitude of things, how to pull off a big event. Like you could be an accomplished, 8 accomplished designers and be sitting on a board and you have to do this event that's being taped. And it's like this big deal to an organization. And, all of it is pressure and all of it is kind of like, where do I start? And I think that, for us, doing this volunteering or having like a leadership role on things is to try to say, it's going to be okay. You leave a legacy in some way, shape, or form. And sometimes it's like little small ripples on the pond, and sometimes it's bigger. It would have been nice if there was a Davis and a Cahill when we were starting out that could have said, hey, these are the people you need to meet. These are the firms you need to do. This is what you should do. And so all we can kind of do is sort of kick it forward and say, well, if we have an opportunity to say to somebody else, these are the firms, this is what you do, this is how we make an event work, this is how we collaborate, it's going to be okay, then we've done something worthwhile.
And I think all effective leaders do that, because I kind of did that the same thing with NEWH, and I've been on the board for NEWH, a little bit of IIDA. I've helped out with ASID, GAIDP. I've helped out with so many things. And now that I'm not on the board, my way of giving back is this whole education through empowering design, the YouTube channel, because I'm not, doing the board as much. So yeah, I think it comes from us seeing a lack of what's in the industry and trying to make, like you said, make it better by giving. And, like for me, when I was on the board for NAWH, like I had Debonchi and I was just mentoring her and being like, look at this company, do this, what do you, just giving her suggestions on that. And now she's kind of been doing that for other students. So it's good to see it kind of go into the next, we'll say, generation. How have hospitality pop-up shops become a trend, and what are you guys doing to fuel that trend or, promote that trend, I guess?
As far as fueling it, I don't know that we're fueling it so much as the industry is changing and morphing.
Okay.
And it's going to be interesting to see at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, how our industry evolves. I'm not going to say changes, because I do feel like this is an evolution that was already kind of in the works. So when you look at the younger generations, a lot of the younger generations never wanted to be in an office 9 to 5, 5 days a week. That wasn't the mindset. This is a virtual nation. We're talking about, 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds coming out of school in particular. You start getting into 30 and 40s, and, we're all generations that are entrepreneurs, that are not necessarily looking for a 9 to 5 job. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not generalizing. There are some that definitely want to stay corporate, and I totally get it, but would love a better work-life balance. And I think that one of the things that came from COVID, whether it was intentional or not, was we all had to figure out how to keep going with the demands that were on us in an environment that was completely different, like from our homes. And, I could say a lot of things about COVID. I think all of us probably could. But if you weed out some of the stuff that was really frustrating and, had you drinking tequila at 10 o'clock in the morning every day, just saying, yeah, there's a lot of that.
I think they call that alcoholic.
I call that homeschooling your children. All parents that are
free gaming.
Well, I know a little bit about that because I was homeschooled.
No, this is horrible. But I think that, really at the end of the day, reaching out, it was one of the safest ways to keep seeing our clients. Like, there was demand for us. We were actually really lucky. And we look back on it and we're kind of surprised at how many people we did see, how consistently we just did it outside. Like, we just constantly kept creating a different opportunity, a different venue. We got really, I think, thoughtful on how we did things, where we did things, whether it was pop-up shops in people's outdoor locations, their parking lots, or we did shopping tray drop-offs so that we catered it to them and they could shop all day for hours. And then we'd come back and collect everything. And then inevitably we'd wind up being there for an hour and a half anyway, because they had a ton of questions, and we'd wear masks and stay on 2 feet, 6 feet apart. It just depended.
Yeah.
We really got, I think, creative doing the trunk shows with people, which was fun too. But we actually, I think, saw more people one-on-one being busy that way. And I don't necessarily think that's going to change this sort of human element, where it became completely fine to hang out with somebody on their front porch in your workout pants. And you kind of just like take this corporate kind of, conference room table where you do a luncheon, you kind of take that away, and it actually, I think, made us closer with our clients. It gave us a lot more work than just, talking to 20 people in one room. Now we're talking to 10 people at the firm in their houses and running from place to place. But I don't know, and Davis, you could jump in and agree or not agree, but I don't know if we would change it. This has been so cool for us, I think.
Way more fun.
This is what we wanted. Yeah, we wanted that human contact with our clients more. And man, you show up in sweatpants with the kids screaming in your back, like, you can't get more real than that. You pass the bottle of wine, they've got the screaming kids. Like, we all get it. If you're dropping off samples at 9 p.m., all of a sudden that's completely acceptable. And it just took boundaries away. And I think it took away like pretense. But I think we all got to know each other a lot better.
And you gotta have that human element. You can't get away from the human element, well, whether it's virtual or at a distance or whatnot. But I think you're right. I think the IT industry kind of started that 10 to 15 years ago, and it's kind of just evolved. I mean, because I read an article maybe about 2 or 3 years ago where they're like 40% of, workers are going to work virtually in the next, I think it was 2025. And I'm like, how is that going to change so fast? So then, COVID happens. I'm like, instantly like that. It just changes. And for me, it was kind of a step back because I was working virtually for, almost 5 years, and then going back and working in an actual brick and mortar store it's been helpful in a way that I go insane if I just work virtually. And I think that's why I was so involved with NAWH and networking with so many people, is because working in front of a computer all the time, and then that kind of got me my out. But when we couldn't get that out through, live events, going back to working in retail, although it helped with the bills, it also helped on the mental side too. And we'll start with Davis. What is one habit, trait, and it's all about mindset, are you currently, working on right now?
I am always trying to think outside the box. Like we as mavens, that's our spiel. Like, that's what we want to do, is we want to always be thinking outside the box on how we can help people and, what those ways are. Because if you just keep doing the same thing that you've been doing over and over, you just kind of become irrelevant, I think, after, a certain period of time. You get left behind. And I think that's a entrepreneurial in general, mindset, because if you don't pivot, then like I said, you get left behind.
Well, I think having like a fun mindset, like what Jennifer was saying, like we try to keep a fun mindset, and ironically, it's just made us kind of trendy in the beginning of COVID. We became trendsetters, and that was kind of fun. But then you got to stay up on it. And I don't think either one of us is really looking to be like trendsetters.
It's also tiring to try to outthink yourself. Like, what's the next thing? What can I do?
But we find ourselves, being kind of in a position like that, or in kind of an influential position, just by having fun with it and thinking outside the box. And so it winds up being something really cool that we come across. So I think, I understand what she's saying. I would tap onto what she's saying. And I would say the trait that I'm most trying to work on right now is being a yes person. And that being a yes person is more than just saying yes to everything, because that can tap you out. It's saying yes to things and doing it sort of with joy. And instead of being like, oh, one more thing on my schedule, it's like, yeah, you know what, let's do that. Or let me figure out, and tapping into Jen's thought process is how to be yes and how to think outside the box. Oh, you know what? I have these 3 people that I want to see. What if I combine them? What if we combine them when we finally did that? And it's, you just keep thinking outside the box, and you keep saying yes to things, but you try to make sure that when you say yes, for me, I'm trying to make sure it's in a way that's like building really a cooler idea than what I thought it was going to be. And so I'm constantly trying to say yes in a very kind of calm way where I don't feel overwhelmed. There you go.
So where can everyone find you if they're looking to learn more about Maven Studio? And whoever wants to take this can take it.
So we have several avenues you could take. We have a website, www.mavenstudioatl.com. And we're on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook, but we're mainly Instagram is at Maven Studio ATL. And we also have a second account at Arterior Southeast. That's where you can find us.
And we both use LinkedIn very often. And then we're in the middle of hiring somebody. So come back to us.
Congrats.
We're going to find a group of people that do this professionally.
Oh, okay. Got you. Well,
marketing, social media person.
It's still adding to your team. Davis and Cahill, we learned about, your background. We learned a little bit about what your leadership is like, your tequila recipes that we're going to add to the show notes.
Right.
What the culture is like, and then a little bit about, how the industry is changing with pop-up shops.
It's not going anywhere.
No, it's definitely not going anywhere. So it was great talking with both of you, but before I let you all go, and I'm going to start with Davis, what advice do you have for future leaders and designers, or just in general?
Advice for them?
Yeah. So what advice do you have for future leaders, whether you're coming right out of school or just in, we'll say the next generation?
I say follow your dreams. Go for it. Don't let anything stand in your way. Make sure you've got a great support team behind you so that you've got somebody to lean on, you've got somebody to help you, you've got somebody to guide you. Never be the smartest person in your camp. Always make sure there's somebody you can learn from and grow with and can inspire you and push you to get to where you want to go.
I wish y'all told me that when I was coming out of school, because that is some good advice.
Too, but you learn along the way.
Exactly. How about you, Cahill?
Don't be afraid. Taking a chance and putting yourself out there to be a leader is always a little daunting at first, but find something that really moves you for the right reasons. And I think that that's a very easy progression then, to give of yourself that way. I don't know that you get as much back receiving things as giving them. Kind of like Christmas. And I think leadership is sort of the same way. Like, I'm much more uncomfortable opening a Christmas gift, but I love giving them. Mm-hmm. And I think leadership is the same sort of mindset. It's find something that really moves you. For me, growing up with a single mom, I think NEWH was a big thing for scholarship because I understood personally how hard it could be to pay for college. And so that was a big motivating factor for me, is to see these kids get the scholarship and see what it does to their lives and see how it helps. So find what moves you and just jump in.
Thank you all for watching today's episode of Empowering Design. If you like today's content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. We'll see you in 2 weeks for our next episode of Empowering Design, where we talk all things design and business with a focus on leadership.